Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Viewer, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 13. All right, I was doing these matches on Friday and doing kind of in between spurts of work, so my brain was cooking a bit through these matches. But in any case, as for updates to the box itself, I'm still 5 stars with Grenhild, and the only characters that are not maxed out on casting and chance is Connie. I believe she's level 3 in accessory, so slowly getting there with her. As for our opponent here, this is kind of a more traditional box with a bit of a mix of everything, which is generally the ones I prefer fighting because they're easier. A couple of assassins. We do have Grunhild here. And yeah, a lot of some AoE, some tank busters, kind of a little bit of everything. One of the things that stand out is that there's an Albedo. This one's also Demon Albedo, which is... Albedo does not have anything that negates class disadvantage, so her being Demon is actually pretty rough since Holy's kind of a big thing now. But yeah, 3 tanks, 1, 2, 3... It looks like 3 healers, no Liana. Alright, so yeah, like I said, kind of a more traditional box. I went ahead and got rid of Epsilon, since he's kind of an annoying assassin to deal with. They go ahead and get rid of my Kyura. And they open with a Rosen Seal, which was actually fine by me. Because I was like, alright, well I'm going to ban one of your tanks, the one that negates crits, and I'll get rid of Grunhild, so I don't have to worry about her shield. And I grabbed Lightbringer. Alright. Bans my Grunhild and my Marielle. Grabs Albedo as a tank. So I was like, okay, whatever. I believe... I know she's... I'm trying to remember what a faction she is. I think she's Dark, Time, and I think it's Mythical. So right now she doesn't have a faction buff. She can give herself a defense buff with one of her guard skills, but it's not her 3C. In any case, go ahead and ban the 2 major tank busters there. And I go ahead and open immediately with Sylvaria. Since I'm player 2, and I still have access to Liana. So my Liana was not banned. Did lose Lucretia, did lose Asusa. Did grab Tensei Jessica there. So I go ahead and get rid of any potential assassins that remain. And grab Liana. So I do have the combo for player 2 with sniping set up. Ban more of my attackers. They go ahead and grab Wedem. At this point, Wedem's not by himself is usually not too big of a deal. I was completely fine with my opponent having more tanks or more healers, since with Sylvaria I should be able to kill them. So I go ahead and get rid of Christiane, get rid of Bozel. Also, Bozel means that there's no faction buff for Albedo, so that's a bit rough. Also, I guess Wedem technically doesn't really get a faction buff either. His sword, I think, kind of acts like a pseudo buff for Dark, but I don't really remember. In any case, I go ahead and grab Sword and Light and Shadow. I lose some of my healers, which is fine. Leaves me with either Elma or I could take Connie, and I take Connie. And my opponent takes Elma. AI buddies. Alright. So, single target setup for Wedem. Albedo has Tenacity, or her attack skill, and her 3C, so no faction buff. Went with Royal Protectors. I mean, it does reduce magic damage, so she's pretty tanky against magic. Not that I actually don't have a lot of magic. In fact, the only magic I have is Lightbringer and Liana. So I'm not sure why they went with Royal Protectors. Elma, all of her exclusives. Rosen Seal here is a mage with Shrine Maidens and all heals, so no faction buff there either. Light of Genesis here did bring Strengthen and Teleport, and did go with Fairy Spirit Prophets. So yeah, the game here, of course, is just to see what Wedem does and see if I can snipe him. Oh, and speaking of, Sword and Light Shadows, I did go with Air Slash. Lightbringer, I went with Strengthen and 3C and Discipline. Sylvaria, I didn't bring any buff for her. 3C with Disarm. Joe and Connie here, I did bring her Pulse Shot Type 1 and then her 3C. And then Liana, I did bring 3C with Act Again. Oh, and then the troop choice for Connie here is Elven Cavalry Archers. Alright, so yeah, no faction buffs, but they do have a lot of healing and ways to negate status effects and reflect status effects. And technically, I believe throwing that sword does give a buff to Wedem there. So Wedem kind of can self-buff himself, and then of course Tensei Justin can do their thing. Alright, so Wedem went up here. If you go to this spot here, that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So moving there and setting up snipe would put me just in range. So that's what I do. So now all I need is an Act Again. I don't even think I need an attack buff, but my opponent did kind of read this and was prepared. So teleported Wedem away, got the Act Again, and then just moved away. So she did burn her teleport, she did burn her strengthen. She did get a bunch of her stacks set up. And so I kind of showed my hand a little early. I'm assuming my opponent was waiting for it. The way that my opponent was moving was pretty decent. Even then, I still have plenty of coverage. I cover all the way to here. I could shoot Albedo if I really want to, but I'm not going to. But yeah, with this, I still put a lot of pressure on my opponent. So sure, they could choose not to move forward. I'm just going to take the center then. And I can out-tank this, so it's not a big deal. With Lightbringer stacks and Liana's 3C, I don't have to worry about Wedem's annihilation. Actually, I don't even think I need to worry about it at all, do I? Yeah, I'm immune to Curse of Wounding, so yeah, it doesn't even matter. And heal reversal. So yeah, just nudging forward a little bit. I did stay pretty far back. Wedem covers a lot of ground with that stupid sword of his. So yeah, I do auto creation. Honestly, like I said, my brain was cooking a bit because I was kind of shifting between this and work. So I honestly didn't need to do auto creation on Lightbringer. I could have done that to somebody else. Good news is I did get a Tensei buff that did provide an attack buff to Silvaria, so good to go on that front. So still don't really have a good shot yet. I could just shoot and then Act Again to reset it, but my goal now is just to keep Silvaria in snipe mode, just to keep my opponent from pushing forward. As you can see, my opponent is reluctant to move forward at this point. So I kind of just start shifting forward. Oh, and my AI buddy, I did give the stealth thing. It only lasts for 2 rounds, but as long as he's at 100%, he can't be a target. Sorry, I'm getting messages on Facebook. Alright. So, since I got the buff on Silvaria already, I went ahead and did Strengthen on Connie. Oh yeah, this is what... so yeah, my opponent did move Wedem in range here. Now, my opponent did think a little bit ahead, and moved just close enough so Silvaria can't directly target heroes. For those who don't know, whenever you're attacking from, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you attack anywhere from 9 to 10 range, or usually it's just 9, but I have the bow, it's the heroes that attack each other instead of troops. And you can target the hero directly, which is usually what I do with sniping. But since Wedem is actually 8 squares away, I can still target him and I can still bypass guard, but I will not be attacking him directly anymore. But the good news is my deck gunners can also shoot. Deck gunners do get increased attack, and if either her or her opponent is in defensive terrain, she can negate some defense, which that doesn't apply in this situation. So I am an archer hero with archer troops versus a flying hero and demon troops. If I can get through the demon troops, I can definitely shred a flyer with arrows. So the question is can I do enough damage? But for right now, I'm just passing turns just to see what happens. Mass Crystal Healing. So it didn't do Miracle. And right now, yeah, no other buffs. So full HP... looks like about 24,800. I had no other targets, and it's my last turn anyway, so I was like, fine, I'll just shoot her. Or shoot him, rather. Ooh, 30,000 with a crit. Yeah, more than enough to kill. Alright, so I go ahead and move forward. My stealth wore off, unfortunately, but if Sensei Jessica decides to shoot my spirit, it'll just expose her. Especially since Albedo has already passed turn. So the way her Connie's 3C works is whenever she does, it's a line, but if it shoots through Joa, it will actually extend its range and make it 3 wide. So I did that just to kind of do some damage and see how much damage I can do, and it did quite a bit. It did a lot more than I expected. Granted, this was with 0 faction buffs or anything like that. I did get a clock proc, so I can keep doing this. I wasn't really going to win with this 3C because 2 healers here, but I needed to do something, and this will force my opponent to do some healing, so that's what's going to happen. So I go ahead and shift forward, get some guard coverage on Joa there. Alright, I'll go ahead and set up for another snipe. I wasn't really too concerned about hitting heroes directly anymore, because all these characters are without faction buffs and pretty vulnerable. I think my opponent didn't realize I had 10 range, so teleporting Rose and Seal back here actually did absolutely nothing. 10 range is exactly to here, from where Sylvaria is at, so all that did was make it easier for me to kill Rose and Seal. So I go ahead and do act again at this point, since I'm going to be going last anyway, because I have more units. So I could have killed Tensei Jessica as well. She was 10 spaces away, but I was like, whatever. I can kill Tensei Jessica whenever. So I go ahead and kill Rose and Seal instead. And I decided to just teleport in place and attack here. Honestly, this was not my wisest decision. But my thought process was to go ahead and just dispel Albedo's 3C buff. You can't dispel the damage reduction part of it, but you can dispel the guard part of it. So I was like, I'll just do this. But if I was going to do this, I should have just teleported here and then just go around and attack from below. So I get hit here. Lose a life. And I was like, oh, cool, she went here. And guard's down, so I should be good, right? And the answer is no. Albedo's talent gives her a guard of 1 ring. So she can actually guard diagonal from her. So I kind of just threw away my... I ended up throwing away my Sword and Light Shadow, unfortunately. It's not too big of a deal. I still dispel all the buffs. Now Albedo is now pretty vulnerable at this point. More importantly, Albedo moved away from Elma here. And something that you may not know about Joa here is Joa can move through units. I could attack at his max range, which is 4 with his pull shot type 2, so he can just shoot from here, but then it'll actually block Connie's chance to actually shoot. So what I did instead was I moved through and I attack at 2 range. Kill the Shrine Maidens. And now that she's not at 100% life, I can just move in, do type 1, and kill her. And there you go. So yeah, not too bad. Got to show off Connie a bit. And of course, Sylvaria murdering everything is always fun. Alright, another match on the same day. And same conditions, I suppose. So this box is 2 tanks, it looks like. 1, 2, 3... 3 healers. Or sorry, no, it is 3 tanks, 3 healers again. We've got a Boro, there's a Clotaire. So yeah, mix of a lot. There's even SP Liana, or not Liana, SP Lana. So yeah, a little bit of AoE, some assassins, some strikes. So it's a bit of a mix again. So I get rid of Clotaire because I didn't want to deal with that nonsense. And as expected, my opponent is banning my Rosen Seal first, and they take their Rosen Seal. So I was like, alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Boro, because I don't like dealing with him, and I don't want to deal with an assassin. So did that, got Lightbringer. They actually went straight for Sylvaria and Kyura here. Grabs Lana. So at this point I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to go ahead and ban Christiane so you don't get a faction buff. Got rid of Lucretia. And they'll have to pick a tank now, and both tanks can't actually buff these characters. Lana is Princess Dark, and I don't remember what else. I don't think she's Empire, but I don't remember. So, grab Marielle. Give myself a little bit of a buffer for heals, because AoEs are definitely coming. Lana is kind of hard to deal with in some cases, simply because she can spam her exclusive passive can make it so she can just immediately refresh her cooldowns. It's pretty random though. We've got Landius here. We haven't seen him in forever. I go ahead and ban the two troublemakers. And I grab Liana at this point. So just to make sure I have all the heal coverage I need. I go ahead and start getting rid of my strategic characters. So I grab Tensei Jessica. I go ahead and get rid of their Act Again, get rid of their character that could do, well, their tank buster essentially. I'm completely fine with them having a second tank, and if they take Elma, that's not a big deal either. Go ahead and grab Sword and Light and Shadow. I really just kind of pick her to get more practice with her whenever I can. To get rid of Lucretia, get rid of Ironblood Commander, and that leaves me with Auden Kelmo and Connie. Auden Kelmo is holy, so she can actually be buffed. They grab Elma. And I grab Auden Kelmo. Alright, my opponent is essentially all magic as far as offense is concerned, with the exception of Landius, I guess. So I go ahead and go with Holy Guard Mages. Nothing new with Liana here. Auden Kelma, I went Fairy Spirit Prophets, her 3C, her exclusive single target, and then Windblade. I wasn't really planning on doing a lot of AoE, but having some AoE could be a little bit helpful. Because obviously it's kind of, with Elma and Rosen Seal, if they have Crystal healing up and if I hit the staff, it's just, most of the AoE will just get negated. Since I went ahead and opted for Sword Soul this time, just so I can start punching through Landius's buffs. He doesn't have any buffs that can't be dispelled, so I can just kind of wail him down. And of course I have Marielle for bypassing guard if necessary. And then besides that, yeah, pretty standard kit here. Light of Genesis, standard kit with Teleport and Strengthen. Lana here did go full AoEs, Black Hole, Heaven Sanction with Redeemers. Landius is standard kit, so faction buff with 3C and unflinching. Elma, standard, all exclusives. Brought Highland Warriors of all things. Rosen Seal here did bring Ice Dragon Breath, but no faction buff. So Landius's faction buff, I don't know who it all affects besides himself. Maybe Elma? No, it can't be Elma. Whatever. We'll know soon enough. So, opting to go ahead and go with Rosen Seal right here. Funny enough, her going there, if I had... Would I have made a difference here? Oh, no, not yet. Okay. So at this point, I go ahead and move Auden Kelma up, and I go ahead and set up portals. Now I can talk about it. Okay, yeah, faction buff is only to himself. So, good to go there. Oh, and he's also using Golden Knights, which are pretty good cav. But yeah, with Sword and Lane Shadow, I could teleport to here. Or, sorry, I could go here, teleport in place, go through the portal, and I could have gone to here. And if I still had Air Slash, I could have possibly gotten in range. But Landius was the second move, so it didn't really matter. So yeah, at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and Start pushing towards the middle, because that's what my opponent's also doing. And like I mentioned before, my brain's been cooking, so I'm going to be making a significant error soon. So look forward to it. So staff summoned. So yeah, I got to the buff up. I'm going to use Enduring Phase so I can act again. Go here, move in. So the thing about Marielle's 3C is it doesn't give her guard bypass unless she gets her attack guarded. She also doesn't get any of the other fancy buffs that are attached to it, like the extra hero damage, for example. So I don't have the extra hero damage or any of that nonsense. Now, the good news is Landius' first action was a faction buff. He did not get put up guard, so Rosen Seal is actually outside of guard range. I can also go after Lana, but Lana, even if I could kill Lana, which I can't because she's at full HP with Redeemers, the Redeemers would just ensure that I don't get killed. So I go ahead and try to go for kill on Rosen Seal here. Sorceresses, so full HP, so Sorceresses do get some defensive buffs. They do get a magic defense buff, which is pretty significant since Holy Guard mages, I think, do magic. Yeah, they do. So yeah, I kill all the troops, but didn't really get anywhere with it. The push actually worked. I was a little bit worried because, one, I didn't get kill, and I wasn't expecting the push to work, but Rosen Seal in Mage class actually is flying, and Sorcerers are also flying. So she actually was able to go across this pit here and be completely outside of guard range. She wasn't in guard range to begin with, and she's definitely not now. So I move into Forest. At this point, it doesn't really matter. I'm not at full HP. And I'm about to get hit with a really nasty attack here. And that heals everybody, gives her a little barrier buff. Now the good news is, it's not all is lost. I did lose one of my DPS, which really sucks, but I do have a way of making up for it. Originally I was thinking of ways to try to just punch a hole with Sword and Light and Shadow, trying to get the act against with Liana or something along those lines, but I did find an alternative option that worked out a lot better. And that is to just act again Aldrin Kelmo. So here comes the AoE. Does some damage. So go ahead and pass turn, get my act again from the portal. I'm not at full HP, but neither is she. And I'm near a portal, so I do negate some defenses as well. So I get kill. And more importantly, I make that spirit appear so I can teleport to it and go straight for Tensei Jessica, who is outside of guard range. And I was able to dispel the barrier she got. I do Sword Soul. Does a little bit of damage, nothing too serious. Puts a spirit down. Get hit with another. So yeah, her should probably talk about this. It's not we've fought her before, but her exclusive passive makes it so anytime she does damage with her skills, it gets its cooldown reduced by anywhere from 1 to 5 turns. So there's essentially a 20% chance that she will completely negate the cooldown of her primary AoEs, which is what happened. So that's why she's able to do back-to-back Heaven Sanctions. So I go ahead and move in, do Discipline. I was hoping to do more damage, or at least not take as much damage, but that didn't be the case. I was hoping to do some healing onto Sword and Light and Shadow, but that didn't happen. But not a big deal. So the good news is with Rosen Seal dead, there's no more crystal barriers being added. So every time they pass a turn, they're near a portal. So they're going to be taking random buffs that will just gradually whittle those crystal barriers down. I go ahead and put 3C on Auden Kelmo because I intend on moving her up and passively healing everyone else. So here comes Candlelit Sanctuary, so 3C. Heals everybody a bit. So I go ahead and move in. I do have First Strike here. I dispelled 6 buffs. Do a crit. Take some damage in return, not a big deal. I do get hit with Light Mirror, unfortunately, so I take some damage there. And some more from there, unfortunately. So at this point, I know the staff is in range, but since they have lost so many crystal barriers at this point, I'm kind of fine with just doing a bunch of damage. Also, the passive 3C heal here is going to help out Sword and Light Shadow here. So, Light Recall gives him a bunch of healing. And Star Bloom, of course, gets rid of a bunch of the buffs. Alright. So at this point, Landis is on cooldown, and I've whittled down pretty much majority of his buffs at this point. He just can't keep the buffs going, unfortunately. So, Holy Healing. So I go ahead and do Strengthen on Sword and Light Shadow, get her attack buff up again. Get hit with Black Hole, which is annoying. I was mostly worried about getting mobility down on Leona here, but that didn't happen, thankfully. Also, she's currently immune to all debuffs thanks to doing 3C, so she's actually kind of safe. Everyone else, unfortunately, is a bit... Actually, everyone else... so Auden Kalamo is immune to all buffs, and so... And it looks like the buffs that I got hit with on Sword and Light and Shadow was probably Silence and probably Attack Down, which she was immune to thanks to Strengthen. So with that, I was able to just move in and kind of get, you know, some healing back up. I did get mobility down, so I just took care of that. I get hit, which is a bit annoying. Not the end of the world, though. So I go ahead and use Auden Kelmo. Use Windblade. Got just short of a kill. Get some portals back up. Passive healing, and then I move in. I don't get first strike here, but I do dispel pretty much a bunch of his stuff. And more importantly, I dispelled everything. So he doesn't have immunity, so I negated his self-res. Another Heaven Sanction, because it was off cooldown again. And as you can see, she can't do anything now. I mean, she didn't have a faction buff to begin with, so that hurt her quite a bit. But yeah, despite my early mistake, I was able to kind of make up for it. Essentially, it ended up becoming a trade. I got Rose and Seal out of range, and was able to just blast her. I mean, and if she was at full HP, I'm not sure if I would have gotten kill or not. It's hard to say. Sorceresses are very annoying to deal with, but at the same time, she also didn't have a faction buff, so she probably couldn't have tanked in the first place. So who knows? Oop, didn't mean to hit replay. Sorry, I was going to look up... Sorry, I was going to look up stats. There you go. So yeah, lost 1 unit, tons of damage because of AoE, but I did just as much. I did more damage just with single targets for the most part. So yeah, good stuff. I did lose a match between these 2 matches I showed. Unfortunately, it was against a super rush box that had pretty much everything. They did ban my Lightbringer, and I did take Grunhild, or whatever her name is. I'm so used to seeing different translations of her name, so I may be mispronouncing it. But like I mentioned before, my brain was a bit cooked, and I was just like, just hanging around, you know, waiting for the timer to pretty much pass, and then, you know, didn't take a guard skill. So I went into it with no guard, and then my opponent had a super rush Wedham that had the move again boots equipped, and so it just went pretty bad. So I kind of just threw that away. It was unfortunate because I think with my winning streak there was a chance I could have gotten gold too from if I had won this fight here, but unfortunately I did lose. Winning this did get me back up some points, but now that I gained so few points because I'm no longer on a winning streak, because yeah, I was on a 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I was on a 6-win streak when I lost, unfortunately. And I was getting like 20. I think I got 26 points on the win against Matt here. So if it kept on going up, I could have gotten enough to get to the next rank. So now I'm back to getting like 15 points per win, which sucks. So essentially now I need 2 wins in a row to possibly get to gold 2, which more than likely the way this seems to work is as I get close to gold 2, they'll throw the rush box at me, and then I'll have to figure out if I can actually deal with it or not. That being said, I won 2 out of 3 matches, and my win rate's kind of sitting at 66%, which I think is a lot better than what I usually float around. I usually float around 50. So hopefully we can keep that up and maybe try to get to gold 2. I really do want to get to gold 2. It's just I've been so busy, so it's hard. It's just a lot to work through. In any case, I'll go ahead and call it here. I am The Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 13. I'll see you guys later.